I want to give a huge thanks to PTCGO Store for sponsoring the channel. PTCGO Store is a great website where you can get codes for the Pokemon trading card game online at some of the best prices. Of course, now able to order Sword and Shield base set codes. You can use code CHIP5 at checkout to get 5% off your order, or click the link in my description below. Once again, that is code CHIP5 to get 5% off your order. Thanks, PTCGO Store. What's going on, guys? Chip here. Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG video, where today I'm going to be doing my Sword and Shield Rebel Clash set review video. The new set is set to come out here in just a couple of weeks. Of course, no pre-releases going on, thanks to, everything that's going on in the world currently. But if you're lucky enough to have a local hobby shop or card store near you that is still able to sell the build and battle boxes, you can definitely go pick those up. I'm going to try to pick up one or two myself, I think, from one of my local stores, so definitely check in on that, but no in-person pre-releases, unfortunately. Before we get started, I definitely want to give a big shout-outs to PokeBeach for compiling this English set list. I always like to wait to do my set reviews until we know every single card that's in the set for sure, and it looks like PokeBeach has compiled things finally after doing a couple of updates of what the full English set is going to be. So excited to go ahead and hop into this thing. I've read a lot of these cards. I know what a good amount of them do, but there are definitely some that I still don't know what they do. Some of the talked about cards like Boltund V and Dragapult VMAX I definitely am familiar with, but a lot of these cards I haven't had the chance to read yet, so you're going to get kind of my live reactions, my live initial thoughts on a lot of these cards. So I'm going to be kind of doing 3 different ranking options for these cards. I'm either going to say something is competitively viable, something I think is going to definitely have a competitive impact on the Pokemon TCG, or at least has a good shot to have a competitive impact. Then I'm going to talk about competitive potential. These are cards that I think have a chance to do well, maybe not perfect right now, but have a chance in the future, or it's like something that I think could fit into like niche decks here and there, but it's definitely just something that has potential, not a standout, like something that's competitively viable. And then finally is going to be bulk cards that I just don't think are very good, don't have really much of a chance at seeing competitive play, and these are just going to be my first takes, my first opinions on a lot of these cards. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and scroll down here and hop into things. I'm going to be leaving a link to this set list that PokeBeach has compiled in the description, so definitely check that out. Once again, shout outs to PokeBeach for compiling these things. So first off, we've got a 111, just a Butterfree evolution line. I'm saying 111 like we're talking about a deck list here, but a Butterfree evolution. The Butterfree here for a grass, 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned, burned, and confused. While that is a lot of damage counter, or a lot of special conditions, and you can get it into play in one turn thanks to the adaptive evolution abilities on Caterpie and Metapod. These abilities have existed in the past. I believe Flashfire, Caterpie, and Metapod had these as well. Even though that's a lot of special conditions, I don't think this card is very good. I'm ultimately going to say this is bulk. I don't think... it's kind of cute, but not great. Also, 140 HP. It's a Stage 2. Just not great. We've got a Cipher here, Swords Dance. During your next turn, the base damage of this Pokemon's Speed Sickle attack is increased by 70, and Speed Sickle is 20, so that would make it a 90 base power attack. For a colorless, not the worst thing. Not a terrible, evolving basic if there's a good Scizor. I'm actually not sure if there's a good Scizor in this set or not, but I guess we'll see when we get down there. But just based on this card alone, definitely bulk. Has a chance if there's a good Scizor, though. It's not a bad basic. Heracross, this definitely feels like bulk to me here. Love the guy, but not much going on. Grass, colorless, not a great attack cost, and 30 damage. Not doing too much with the switching effect. Gather Berries here on Shuffle. Shuffle 5 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. This is not too bad. A colorless attack, so it's splashable. So I'll say this one has potential. It could be useful in a specific deck that uses, a ton of energy, discards a ton of energy if you want to take a turn to put stuff back. Definitely has potential, I guess, but probably leaning a little bit more towards bulk. Then we've got a Lotad, Lombre, and Ludicolo. We'll start with Ludicolo here. Energized Rush, 60x damage, 60 damage for each prize card you've taken. So honestly not too bad of an attack. Can definitely get to some pretty reasonable damage output numbers. If you've taken 4 prizes, we're doing 240, which is going to knock out most things that we could be playing against. But it is a stage 2, so it's got that problem. Lombre does have a pretty nice ability and also a pretty sweet looking artwork here. Top entry, if you draw this card from your deck at the beginning of your turn and there's room on your bench, instead of putting it into your hand, you may play it directly to your bench. So in combination with something like Smooth Over from Magcargo, you could get this guy into play right away, which is kind of cool. But other than that, or even with like a Rengaroo, yeah, the new Rengaroo would also work as well. You put it on top of your deck, and then next turn you're going to draw it, and you can just bench it right away. So I wonder if, some decks that play like Twin Energy could play like an 0-1-1 line of Ludicolo for like late game. That's kind of interesting, actually. I could see it maybe. I'm going to leave this guy's competitive potential. I do think this is a solid attack, like I said, and the Lombre's ability, I think, also is a big help to it. Also, like, this Lombre could just be good if there's, like, a better Ludicolo in the future or, like, anything like that. So, something to keep in mind. Then we got a Masquerain line. 30 damage. Opponent can't attach energy from their hand to defending Pokemon. Kind of interesting, but probably not very good. So, I'm just going to go ahead and go with Bulk on this one. Because it's these type of effects, like, you can always just switch out of. So, we're going to go with Bulk. Got an Abomasnow here. Grass colors, 80 damage. They're now asleep. This guy, I'm going to go with Bulk as well, even though he's chilling up here in the mountains, just not going to do it for me. We've got a Phantom and Trevenant. Choose a basic Pokemon from your discard pile and play it onto your bench. I'm going to say probably not great. And then, it's an okay attack for an evolving basic, though. And then 40 damage, Shadow Cage 120, defending Pokemon can't retreat. I'm going to go ahead and say Bulk for this guy as well. And then we've got a Grubbin. I guess that means we might have a Vikavolt later on in the set, so we'll talk about this guy, I guess, later on when we get to that. All right, so we've got Rillaboom, the Forest Feast. Search your deck for up to 2 basic grass energy Pokemon. Search your deck for up to 2 basic grass, not grass energy, just grass Pokemon. Put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. Really not a bad attack at all on a basic Pokemon. Just gets your, basics in play. Good for later on. And then Woodhammer for grass, colorless, 220 damage. Does 32 itself. And then Rillaboom VMAX, scratch for 50, and then for 3 grass and a colorless, Max Barrage, 130 damage. You may discard up to 3 grass energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 50 more damage for each energy you discarded in this way. This actually doesn't seem too bad to me. Obviously, I think the support potential is there with the regular Rillaboom from Sword and Shield base set, and with things like Ordinary Rod or Energy Recycler, which are in the format right now. You can get a lot of energy back, and 330 HP is pretty big. Fire weakness is not the worst, not the best right now. Abilities art is okay. You've got some of the things like Mewtwo. You're going to be playing Reshizard and Victini V in their lists. Of course, Baby Blounce, that's definitely a big red flag, but other than the fire decks running around, I feel like this, has a pretty high amount of HP, so it could be good against something like, ADP Zacian, which is dominant right now. So I think Rillaboom definitely has pretty solid competitive potential. I would say for sure there. So I like Rillaboom VMAX. Okay, Eldegoss V. With the ability Happy March. Once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may put a supported card from your discard pile into your hand. This is just going to be a really solid card in anything that plays any good, useful 1 of or 2 of supported cards that you want to have access to, maybe more than once. It's not as good as Via Seeker, of course, because it does take up a bench spot, and I guess it does have 2 colorless as far as its attack cost goes. Soar Upward, 50 damage. You may shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. So that's actually pretty good. A lot of these support Pokemon, as we've seen over the years, Shaman EX and then Dedenne GX, have these effects that you have the option to return them to your hand potentially. Or get them out of play, I guess I should say. So, but yeah, just with the ability alone, this is definitely going to be competitively viable. I think this card is going to be played as a 1 of in definitely a good amount of decks, especially with Boss's Order, which we'll talk about when we get to it later on. All right, we've got Flapple and Appleton here. Both of these guys are pretty cool. We've got Apple Drop. Once during your turn, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, then shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. So kind of a similar effect to, Surprise Bite with Golbat, or Flash Bite with Golbat, I should say. And then Appleton, Delicious Scent. Once during your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, choose one of your opponent's benched basic Pokemon and switch it with their active Pokemon. So a pseudo Pokemon catcher effect on a stage 1. Really not too bad, honestly. But it does only let you bring out basics. I'm going to go ahead and say for both of these guys, competitive potential. I think they definitely could be solid. They're not huge standouts to me immediately, but I think they definitely could be very, very solid. I like the fact that with this ability, you shuffle the pieces back in, so once you get another Applin back down, you're able to just kind of try to set yourself up to be able to utilize another Apple Drop on the next turn, whereas, with Gold Bats and stuff, back in the day, if you're playing it with, like, Seismitoad, you want to use, like, Super Scoop-Ups to reset your bat damage. This kind of resets the damage for you. It does require you to find the pieces again, but, yeah, I don't know. I think that's definitely super solid. Okay. Here we go. We've got a Ninetales here. Hex for a fire. 30 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon has an ability. It does 90 more damage. And then Flickering Flames 90. Your opponent's active is now asleep. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk for this guy. Maybe some competitive potential. I mean, we've got things like the unit energy in format. He's splashable with, like, Ditto Prism Star. If there's some Fire Weak Pokemon. Oh, yeah. Zacian. This does just one-shot Zacian. What am I saying? I'm going to say competitive potential for this guy. I changed my mind right away. I totally forgot. Yeah, so, like, this does just one-shot Zacian if they don't have a Metal Frying Pan attached. You could play this in, like, a toolboxy deck that even utilizes something like Lysander Labs. I don't know. This seems pretty cool to me. Yeah. Potential. For just one energy, being able to one-shot Zacian V, one of the most popular cards in the format, seems not too bad. All right, moving on. We've got Ninetales V here. Nine-tailed transformation. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. It's not too bad. And then Flamethrower 180, discard energy from this Pokemon. So, yeah, I think the first attack is honestly pretty good. I could see this being an inclusion in things like Firebox, aka like Welder Box, Ability Zard, whatever you want to call it. Could definitely see that deck playing one of this guy, because you can just copy Zacian V's attack and just take a knockout on that. But then also, like, could let you use, like, a GX attack on your opponent's side of the field, potentially. Yeah, I don't know. This card seems pretty cool. I think it's definitely got pretty strong, pretty strong competitive potential on Ninetales V, especially with, like, Welder and stuff, of course. All right, here we go. Arcanine, warm up. If this Pokemon has Burning Scarf attached to it, it gets 100 more HP, so that would buff it up to 230. I don't know what Burning Scarf does, but we'll get there eventually. And then Fire Main, 130 damage, so kind of cool. This guy's also terrifying looking, I've got to say. A little scary here, Arcanine. But yeah, let's go ahead and I'm gonna just go ahead and I guess it's competitive. Competitive potential depends on what this card does. Okay. If the fire Pokemon on this card is attached to is your active Pokemon and is damaged by an opponent's attack, the attacking Pokemon is now burned. So a defensive tool. Defensive tools aren't always the best. I'm going to go ahead and say competitive potential. Very low competitive potential, though. Giving yourself 230 HP is a lot, but it's finding a stage 1, getting 3 energies on it, and then also getting the tool. So it's kind of a lot of pieces. Low competitive potential. I do think 230 HP on a 1-prizer is very solid. And with no... I guess we are getting Tool Scrapper in this set, so... I'm going to go ahead and say bulk for this guy. We're changing our minds once again. We're going to go with bulk for now. I just think that it's a cool card, but there's not enough... It's got, like, a decent amount going for it, but there's enough going against it as well that makes it not great. And also, it can just get one shot by a Zacian, so there's that. Okay, so we've got Magmar and Magmortar here. Burst Punch, 30, now burned. Each player discards a card from the top of their deck, 100 more damage for each energy card discarded in this way. These kind of attacks have existed before. It's a stage 1, requires 3 energy. I'm going to go ahead and say not great. Okay, so we've got a Chandelure here. Each of your Pokemon that has any energy attached to it has no weakness. Okay, that's not too bad of an effect. If you draw this card... room on the bench. Okay, so this is the same as the Lombre. So that's pretty cool. He's got a little Sableye in the background. I love that. Is there Sableye? Nope. Nope. Yeah, that's actually really cool. I think with the other Chandelure that already exists in the format that does like more damage for each Pokemon you discard, that's definitely something that has potential here. So that's a cool one. That's definitely cool. I'm going to say competitive potential there. We've got Heatmore. Probably competitive potential more so for the Lampent than the Chandelure, honestly. All right, let's move it on. We've got Heatmore here. Lick, 20 damage, flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Flamethrower, discard energy from this Pokemon. Bulk there for sure. All right, Cinderace V, 210. Field Runner, if there's a Stadium in card in play, this Pokemon has no retreat. Crimson Legs, 140. This is the same as the promo, I'm pretty sure. I think the Rillaboom is the same as the promo as well. And then we've got VMAX counter for a fire colorless 30 plus. This attack does additional damage equal to the amount of damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon during your opponent's last turn. So that's kind of a mouthful, but kind of trying to say the same way that counter works in the video game. And then Grand Fireball, 170, your opponent's active is now burned. So 3 energy to do 190 effectively is not too bad, especially with a Pokemon that has so much HP. And the fact that counter can just do a ton of damage is pretty solid as well, since we do have 320 HP. Combining with like some sort of healing, I guess, like in DDV, maybe even like Hyper Potion, something like that. I could see some potential here for Cinderace VMAX. We're going to go ahead and go with competitive potential here. All right, Galarian, Mr. Mime, and Mr. Rhyme here. Barrier free, as long as this Pokemon is in play, prevent all effects of opponent's attacks done to all of your Pokemon with energy attached to them. So not a bad 1/1 line. I think this is definitely something that has competitive potential. Could be useful to counter specific things for a specialized metagame, something like that. So, or if there's like a specific meta you're trying to prepare for. Kind of the type of thing you want to like just keep in mind, keep in your binder, keep in your deck box. Not deck box, but like card box, whatever, just to, you know, keep around, maybe think about for a specific meta. All right, we've got a Gyarados here. Nice, hollow, okay. 90 and then 200 damage, discard any Stadium in play. Too many energy, not very good. Man, it's been a while since we've had a good Gyarados, isn't it? I guess Ancient Origins, good Gyarados. Other than that, Burning Shadows one was okay for a little while, but They haven't done good by my boy Gyarados in a while, it feels like. All right, we've got a Pelipper here, 50 and 110. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk for this guy. Melodic V, Water Colorless, Aqua Impact, 10 plus. This attack does 50 more damage for each colorless in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. And then Hypno Splash 150, your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. So we can ramp up our opponent's active retreat cost with things like Absol, so there's potential there. I think there's also a Stadium. Oh, that's not going to work. Yeah. The retreat cost of each active Pokemon is 2 colorless more, so that's, 100 more damage if we get that in play. The problem there is going to be things like Chaotic Swell can definitely be problematic. I guess we do have Absol. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we could boost to a pretty high damage output with this guy pretty quickly, honestly. The attack cost isn't the best. You could utilize Welder. Unfortunately, Twin Energy isn't going to work. I guess you could utilize the new this energy as well. This thing, Capture Energy, because it can just go get your Absol, put it on the bench directly. So that's kind of cool, but we're talking 3 turns to attach and be able to attack. So I think the only way this works is with Welder plus Water Energies or Unit Energies. So I don't know. I mean, 50 damage for each star. So let's think like something like Zacian. It's got 2 in its retreat already, so that's 100, plus a Galar Mine, that's 200, plus 10 base, that's 210, plus a Vitality Band, that's 220. That's a knockout. That's not even needing any Absols or anything like that. It does unfortunately get negated by something like Air Balloon, but you can always use Tool Scrappers. I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and say competitive potential for Melodic. Feels weird to run Welder with a fire Pokemon, but I think that's the best way to do it. It's probably going to be not great. I'm going to say low competitive potential, but there's something there. We'll definitely... This is like the type of deck we'll mess around with on stream for a little bit, for sure. All right, so we've got a Seismitoad line. Spiral Punch 30, you're now confused. And if your opponent's active is now confused, it does 120 more damage. Is there a consistent way to give something confusion? Because with a water plus a triple acceleration energy, 240 is a lot, but we need to find triples every turn, and we are a stage 2, so I'm gonna go ahead and say not great. Very, 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 very like bottom tier, low competitive potential. High tier bulk. We'll say that. Okay, so we've got Galarian, Darmanitan. This guy's broken in the video game, so let's see what his trading card game counterpart looks like. 80 damage, 10 damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. And 170 bulk. Sad. Alright, Inteleon V and Inteleon V Max. Snipe Shot, 40 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Not a bad attack for 1 energy. Aqua Report 130, your opponent reveals their hand. Not terrible, not the best attack cost. If this was water colorless, it would be way better and definitely not too overpowered, I don't think. And then we've got Inteleon VMAX. Hydro Snipe does 60. You may return an energy card from your opponent's active Pokemon to their hand. Definitely solid. And water colorless, 160 damage. This attack does 60 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So you could set some stuff up with this. Honestly, seems like a pretty cool guy. Doesn't seem too bad. I think it's the worst of the 3 starter VMAXs that we've seen so far. So I'm going to go low tier competitive potential, high tier bulk, kind of that category again. It seems pretty cool. I think if there was if it was like water colorless, it would be very, very good for the second attack, but that'd probably be a little too good, honestly. So, yeah, 2 energy to do 160 and 60 snipe. A little too good. Needing 3 energy holds it back a bit, I think. Alright, Cramorant. 20 if heads, prevent all effects of attacks. Nope. And I guess you could, like, make, like, a 1-prize Frosmoth deck that could hit pretty hard, but I'm going to go ahead and say... mid-tier bulk. This is like a bulk card that you might dig out at some point to like use as a one-of or something like that as a 1-prizer in your Frosmoth deck, but that'd be about it. Alright, Screwjet 130, discard 2 water energy from your hand or this attack does nothing. So pretty efficient attack, 130 for 1 water, but that effect of needing to discard 2 water makes it pretty bad, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and go with bulk on this guy. We've got an Ice Cube, one of my favorite new Pokemon. Look at this guy. Ice Face, if this Pokemon HP is at its max, any damage done to it by opponent's attacks is reduced by 60. Does have 120 HP, so not huge, but... And then Water Colorless, 70 damage, 10 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Sadly, guy's going to have to go in the bulk box. And we've got Ice Cube V, Cold Absorption. Whenever you attach a water energy from your hand to this Pokemon during your turn, heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. And then Blizzard, 120 damage. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So I'm going to go ahead and say probably going to end up in the bulk box. Sadly, Ice Cube, you're a cool guy, cool little penguin, but not going to do it for me competitively. Alright, Electrode here, Orb Collection. Search your deck for up to 3 energy cards, reveal them, put them in your hand. Bulk for sure. Electabuzz, Electivire, flip a coin, now paralyzed, and 90 special energy, does 90 more damage. Too hefty of an attack cost. I guess lightning or electric Pokemon with Thunder Mountain and Tapu Koko can get to this a little easier. It is a stage 1. And there is the new Lightning special energy, of course. So, low tier competitive potential. Very low tier. Alright, so we've got a Luxray line. Top entry, so the same ability. Pretty cool ability that they're putting on a lot of these stage 1s. Let's see what the Luxray does. 60, if this Pokemon evolved from Luxio during your turn, it does 100 more damage. So, I mean, yeah, not too bad. Doing 160 for a Lightning, plus, you know, Electro Powers and stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk, but kind of a cool card. We'll go with that. Heliolisk, Eerie Impulse, flip a coin if heads, discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. I'm going to go with Bulk on this guy. Recharge, 2 lightning, attachment to, Bulk here. And we got the Vikavolt. Let's see what this guy does. I guess, well, I shouldn't say this is Bulk because it kind of depends on what this guy does. Powerful Storm 60 plus. This attack does 20 more damage times the amount of energy attached to all of your Pokemon. And then Electric Beam 170, 30 damage to itself. It is a stage 2. I'm going to go ahead and say not great. This guy is sadly going to find his way into the bulk box. All right, Boltund V here. Electrify, search your deck for up to 2 lightning energy and attach them to your bench Pokemon any way that you like, and then shuffle your deck. And then we've got Lightning Storm 10 plus. This attack does 30 damage for each lightning energy attached to your Pokemon in play. So good old Dark Pulse here. We know and love this card from, you know, Dark Box, Zoroark, and Greninja. We know it from Darkrai EX's Dark Pulse. But it's for Lightning this time, and Lightning has a ton of support right now. Things like Tapu Koko, Thunder Mountain, Electropower, Volkner. This card has a lot going for it. I'm going to definitely say competitively viable for Boltund V. Definitely a pretty solid card. Immediately going to be a Tier 2 at worst deck. Definitely has a chance to be Tier 1. I think Boltund is definitely solid. A+ for Boltund. I guess... Maybe I shouldn't say A+. I guess the problem with this is that there's not too great of a way to, like, accelerate lightning energy. Let me remind myself what the special lightning does down here, so I don't sound like an idiot. Draw 2 cards. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Couldn't remember if that was what the lightning or psychic one did. So, I think... like, the problem for this is, like, not having something like Max Elixir to accelerate energy even more. Maybe, I mean, obviously you have Electrify, and we have 200 HP, so maybe just spending a couple of turns to use Electrify, build up your energy in play, and then just go from there with Lightning Storms is the way to go. And but the format I don't think is that slow to do it, but you definitely can get to the point where you're able to one-shot just about anything, especially with Electropower. So I'm going to say definite competitively viable there. Okay, Toxtricity, Poison Shout. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Man, they did my boy Toxtricity dirty as far as the non-V version goes. This guy's definitely, I'm going to have to say bulk. And then we got Toxtricity V and Toxtricity V Max. Poison Jab, 20. Your opponent's active is now poisoned. Not too bad. And then Electric Riot, 90 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned. So little combo there, I guess. And then Giganto Riot, 160. If this deck does 80 more damage if your opponent's active is now poisoned. So a pretty steep attack cost, but we can get that down and make it a bit more effective with Tapu Koko and Thunder Mountain, of course. Like we mentioned with Boltund, Lightning just has so much support. And I believe there is a Muck or something, or Garbodor, isn't it? Yeah, I think so. Garbodor, that once during your turn, if there's stadium in play, you may leave your opponent's active poison. So there's a little bit of a combo there. It's kind of a lot to set up. We're going to go with competitive potential for now. Competitive potential. All right, more Pekko here. 20. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. Defending Pokemon can't use that attack during your next turn. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk for this guy. More Pekko's a cool guy, but... oh, look how cute this card is, too. He's got, like, an Electro Wheel rolling here. But... oh, I forgot. I skipped Pincurchin. Counterattack Crackle. Love that ability name. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is damaged by an opponent's attack, flip 3 coins for each heads, put 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. Not great, but not the worst ability, honestly. And then Sparkling Attack 120. I'm going to go ahead and say this guy gets the bulk box, but he's a cool guy as well. Okay. Now we're going to continue on here. We've got a Clefable. Once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand to evolve a Pokemon, you may choose an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon and return it to the top of your opponent's deck. So, pretty cool little energy denial option. We got the Drifblooms in the background. Love that. Or Drifloons? Drifloons, yeah. So that's pretty cutesy. We got these Moonstones. I love it. I'm going to say low tier competitive potential. With like Devolution Spray Z, I guess, like you could maybe kind of do something But yeah, kind of cool. All right, Xatu, moving energy from one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to their active. Psychic, 10, 30 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active. Nope. Bulk. Galarian Corsola and Cursola. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, flip a coin. If heads, the attacking Pokemon is knocked out. And then corner, 60 damage. The defending Pokemon can't retreat during your opponent's next turn. So the ability is really good, obviously. Just the chance to like just take a knockout. Very strong. Very, very strong. But it's a coin flip. Of course, this is very reminiscent of Fainting Spell on Gengar from Stormfront, which was a very, very good card, but that's mostly because it also had 2 really good attacks. Corner is not a great attack, unfortunately, and I think that is what is going to hold this card back. Unfortunately, I think the ability is so good, obviously, but this guy makes it to the bulk box because it doesn't have a great attack. And like if you like with Gengar Stormfront, Fainting Spell is kind of like a bonus if your opponent flips tails and gets knocked out, or if you flip heads, they get knocked out, whatever. That's great, and you get extra prizes. That's cool. But if you flip tails, it was fine still because you had 2 really good attacks that you were using. When we're just going to be doing 60 damage for 2 energy, and then we flip tails on Perish Body, that's just going to feel really bad. So I'm going to go with the big old bulk on this guy. Sigilyph, if this Pokemon is your active, 3 damage counters. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk. Palossand. Is this the first Psychic Palossand? Sand Burial. Discard a card from the top of your opponent's deck. If this Pokemon has a Cursed Shovel attached to it, excuse me, discard 2 more cards. Let's read. Cursed Shovel. If the Pokemon this tool is attached to is knocked out, discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Okay, so we've got like aggro, active, mill. It's not too bad, honestly. Actively milling 2 for a twin energy is what we would be utilizing. Actively milling 1, up to 3, and then 5 if we get knocked out. And we need to mill multiple times with Palosands. We need to recycle Palosands, and we need some of them to not get knocked out. Unfortunately, 140 HP is very reasonable for basically everything to reach in the format. So I think the attack is solid, but it's not like there's too much else holding this Pokemon back. It's just going to get knocked out too easily. And even though you're discarding 2 cards when you knock something out, I'm going to go with bulk on this guy. All right, Hatterim and Hatterini and Hatenna. Mind Hat, once during your turn, you may have each player discard 1 card from their hand. Your opponent discards first. And then Regretful Droplets. Put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon equal to the number of Pokemon in your discard pile. Okay, so that's actually a pretty cool ability. Disrupts your opponent, but also lets you synergize well with the attack. The attack does only cost 1 Psychic, which is nice. It is a Stage 2, which is probably a problem. But, you know, I don't know. We need a lot of Pokemon in our discard pile in order to be doing reasonable damage. So I'm going to go ahead and say bulk, low tier competitive potential. High tier bulk, low tier competitive potential. We'll put it in that kind of range right there. All right. Alcremie, decorate. Attach any number of basic energy from your hand to your Pokemon. Draining Kiss. This guy is going in the bulk box. Indeedee. This is a female Indeedee. 30 from each Pokemon, 30 damage. Now confused. Indeedee goes to the bulk box. Sweep your way right over to bulk. Alright, we'll go on to Dragapult. Fan favorite new Pokemon from the set. This is kind of a derpy looking card, but at least the VMAX is super cool. We gotta give props to the VMAX. Okay. Infiltrator. If this Pokemon would be damaged by an attack, flip a coin. If heads, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon. Definitely not the worst ability. These abilities have existed before and have been okay, but ultimately not great. And then Ghost Dive, 120 damage. Put 3 damage counters on your opponent's benched Pokemon in any way that you like. So I'll say this is actually a pretty energy efficient attack, of course, for just 2 Psychics. And then there's the new Psychic energy. Let me just remember. Yeah. attack deals your active and his damage, put 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So that's pretty good. Of course, can combine it with some spell tags. We've got Mysterious Treasures plus Quick Ball, so we've got a lot of search for this guy, which is nice. And the ability is very solid. But the problem is if we flip tails, then this guy just gets knocked out. It's 150 HP, so it's probably going to be getting knocked out by most things. I'm going to say competitive potential, but the main thing holding it back, of course, is the fact that it is a Stage 2. It does require 2 Psychics, which is also a little bit of a downside, but you could even play like a Finn Malamar line in a deck like this, maybe, to just get that extra attachment, but that seems not great either. I don't know. Okay, Dragapult V and Dragapult VMAX. This is a big one here. Bite, 30 damage, and then Assault Jet, 60 plus. If this Pokemon was on your bench and became your active Pokemon during this turn, this attack does 80 more damage. This card on its own is pretty solid. Not too bad. 210 HP, good amount for, you know, a basic. And then Dragapult VMAX. 1 Psychic, Shred, 60 damage. This attack's damage isn't affected by effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Definitely solid. And then Giganto Phantom, 130, put 5 damage counters on your opponent's benched Pokemon in any way that you like. So the 130 active plus spread 50 however we'd like on the bench. This card is very, very good, and I think has really high chance to be very good in the Pokemon TCG. Definitely competitively viable. This is a card you're going to want to pick up. This is a day 1 card, most likely. You know, got to test it out always to see. I thought Reshiram and Zekrom tag team was going to be like, you know, such a good deck, and then ended up not being the best. But Dragapult VMAX, yeah, it's pretty good. 320 HP as well. Psychic type. We've got the new special Psychic Energy. We've got spell tags. Lots of stuff going for this. All right, Galarian Surfetched, the first ever Galarian Surfetched, and, you know, Farfetch'd with a bigger stick, aka Galarian Farfetch'd. Man, look at this. This guy's like staring into your soul. He like, that's intimidating right there. Okay. Meteor Assault 180. This Pokemon can't use Meteor Assault again as long as it is the active Pokemon. Pretty bad attack cost fighting in 2 colorless. We do get Twin Energy, but it is a Stage 1. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk for this guy. All right. Nosepass. I guess the Probopass is a metal type. Nosepass is bulk on its own. We'll look at Probopass when we get to it. Got a Medicham here. Yoga Kick, 40 damage. This attack isn't affected by weakness or resistance. And then Psychic, 60 plus, 20 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So, yeah, just 1 triple acceleration energy, so it can attack for 1 attachment, which isn't bad, but I don't think is great. I can't think of any major, I guess, like lightning Pokemon, you know, hitting for weakness there, being able to take, to do big chunks of damage. Could be decent here, depending on how many energy they have attached, but probably not the best. Low tier, competitive potential, high tier. Actually, probably, we'll just put it in bulk. We're going to go ahead and put it in bulk. Probably where it belongs. All right. I'm always like a little too wishful with a lot of these things. I'm like, oh yeah, this card could be good if this, but realistically, just not great. All right, we're about halfway done, I think, so we're going to try to power through here. Probably a little over halfway done at this point, 100 cards. All right, ability, Submerge. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, it takes no damage from attacks. Definitely solid ability. And then Earthquake for 2 fighting, 140. It does 20 to each of your benched Pokemon. So damaging yourself, not great. Obviously, you wouldn't damage other Whiscash, which is pretty good. And 140 isn't terrible. 2 fighting isn't terrible. We do have things like Martial Arts Dojo. We've got things like Diancie Prism Star. And even the Colossal for energy acceleration, potentially, which we'll talk about this guy in a bit when we get there. Yeah, I'm going to go with bulk, but kind of a cool card. 140 just isn't quite enough. It isn't what it used to be. 140 on a non-GX evolving Pokemon would have been broken a long time ago, but now not very good. All right, Galarian, Runerigus, and Yamask here. Grud's Distribution. Count the number of damage counters on this Galarian Runerigus. Put twice as many damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon. And then Mad Hammer, 120, it does 30 to itself. So you can damage yourself with Mad Hammer too. I mean, there's like the synergy there, but obviously not very good. In Expanded, with Focus Sash, you know, if your opponent hits into you for 100 or hits into you for 90 damage, you're putting, 180 on your opponent's active for a 2 colorless. That's pretty good, but your opponent can always play around those things, and that's also an Expanded. We're talking about Standard here. This guy, I say, goes to Bulk. Binnacle and Barbarical, if you have more cards, does more damage. Not a great attack cost. I'm going to go ahead and go with Bulk. All right, Colossal here. Tar Generator. Once during your turn, you may search your discard pile for up to 1 Fire Energy card and 1 Fighting Energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. So is it 1... So can you accelerate 2 energies with this guy? Is that right? Let me look at the... I know they had the promo up here. Attach a Fire Energy card, a Fighting Energy card, or 1 of each from your discard pile. Yeah, so you can accelerate 2 energy. It is a stage 2, which is not great. But, I think in combination with like some strong attacking V Pokemon, like potentially Sandaconda V, doing 220 damage and requiring you to discard 2 energy, there's definitely some synergy here. Stage 2 support Pokemon are a little slow right now, but honestly, the effect is so strong on this ability. I think this is definitely competitive potential. And maybe, honestly, Sandaconda V and Colossal, like the combo there, could be competitively viable. Not sure. Don't want to call it too early or anything like that or whatever, but I'm going to say definite competitive potential here. And this is a card, like, in the future, if the format slows down, is very, very good as well. Okay, so Sandaconda V, we talked about, like I said, 220, discard 2 energy. This kind of package, we're going competitive potential. Call for Family and Team Attack. Does 30 damage for each Pokemon on your bench with Phalanx in its name. So that would include Phalanx V, I suppose. And then Phalanx V, as long as this Pokemon is in play, damage done to any of your Pokemon with Phalanx in its name by your opponent's attacks is reduced by 20. I'm assuming this stacks. I feel like that's how that would work. Also based on like how the Pokemon is. And then Giga Impact 210, this Pokemon can't attack. So Team Attack is not very good. Giga Impact is very good, but pretty hefty attack cost. Obviously the ability is not too bad. Reducing damage is pretty solid, of course. And we can take 1-hit knockouts on most things with Diancie plus Vitality Band. I guess we're not knocking out ADPs and maybe Mewtwo's, but like all the other V Pokemon, non-VMAX Pokemon, I should say. I'm going to say Bulk for this guy for now, but I think he's a cool guy. Stonejourner, Mega Kick 80, Power Press 120. If you have 1 more energy attached to this Pokemon, but not used to pay for this attack's cost, it does 16 more damage. So if you have a 5th energy, I guess, I'm going to say Bulk for this guy. Galarian Weezing, as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, each of your opponent's Pokemon has no abilities. So not too bad. Severe Poison, your opponent's active is now Poison. Put 4 damage counters on your for Poison Pokemon between turns. So this is kind of like the old, or kind of like the Celestial Storm Slacking, but as a stage 1. So that's not too bad. I feel like this could be a decent inclusion in like a hit and run deck, something like Beheeyem maybe. I'm going to say competitive potential for Galarian Weezing. All right, Poison, Circle. Wait, what's its retreat cost? It is 3. Oh, if it had Air Balloon, if it was able to be Air Ballooned, that'd be pretty good, but... Alright, Skuntank, 80, now poisoned, can't retreat, not good. Spiritomb, discard 1 card from the top of each player's deck, and then put damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon equal to the number of Pokemon in your discard pile. Okay, so this is the same as the Hatterini then. I'm going to say Bulk for this guy. Spiritombs have been decent in the past, but not enough damage counter placement for it to be good. It is a basic though, which is definitely better, but its attack cost isn't great. Poison Pool, once during your turn, if there's a stadium in play, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned. And then, so we already talked about the potential here for Toxtricity VMAX. We're going to go competitive potential for this. Stage 1 that can poison, just gets you that extra counter. Definitely not not too terrible. Okay. Mandibuzz, Bone Rush, flip a coin to get tails. Okay, nope. And then 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon that already has damage counters on it. So the spread, not too bad. 2 Darks plus a Stage 1, not the best. All right, here we go. Everyone's favorite squid, Malamar V and VMAX. Drag off, choose one of your opponent's benched Pokemon and switch it with their active Pokemon, 30 to the new active. Brain Shake, 130. Your opponent is now confused. Giganto Jammer, 180 damage. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose one card you find there and put it on the bottom of your opponent's deck. Okay, so this has definitely got some potential, at least, with Weavile. You know, red and blue is a potential engine there. You can get the Weavile in play, move the energies to this, power it up. Reasonable way to power it up. Choose one card you find there and put it on. Okay, so and then like also the disruption of putting a card on the bottom of your opponent's deck and like getting to choose the card is pretty good. 310 HP is a pretty good amount, but ultimately I'm gonna say low tier competitive potential. Not too bad though, not too bad on the Malamar. All right, we've got the Grimmsnarl, one of the craziest new Pokemon. This thing is like the stuff of nightmares. This is like most high schoolers when they go through their emo phase, and this is most annoying kids in your neighborhood. Dark Limitation, as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon pays colorless more to use its attacks. And then Energy Press, 100 damage, 30 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So yeah, I mean, these abilities have existed before. It is a stage 2, so that's not great. It doesn't have a great attack cost. So I'm going to go ahead and say bulk. High tier-ish bulk. Could be okay. Not great, though. All right, Galarian Meowth. So the Berserker here isn't great, but Galarian Meowth is actually pretty solid with the old Berserker from the last set that does 20. Make sure metal Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage. Once during your turn, you may discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for one Galarian Berserker, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Oh, I thought it evolved it. I guess it just does let you find it out, though, so you can get the evolution way easier next turn. It's worse than I thought, but it's still definitely very solid. So I think Galarian Meowth has competitive potential. This Berserker is pretty bad, though. Then we've got Scizor here, Metal Raid, 30 plus if this Pokemon evolved from Scyther. It does 90 more damage, so 120. There's a lot of these like random 1 energy stage 1 attackers in this set, I feel like. And then Guard Claw, 90 damage during your opponent's next turn. Any damage on this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 30. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk. Bronzong, Gyro Ball, 70. Switches Pokemon. Then your opponent switches. I mean, a hit and run deck could be okay with like something like this guy or, you know, this guy like we talked about. Wait, which guy? This guy. But I don't think this is the guy to do it with, unfortunately. All right, Probopass, 30 damage for each colorless in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. So going back to the... wait, is this any different from Tangrowth? Tangrowth is like the same thing, right? So this is just Metal Tangrowth. Yeah, I mean, competitive potential, I guess. It's a 1-prizer. I don't know. Tangrowth is like kind of cool. It's kind of the same thing. You might win a League Cup with it. But I don't think you're going to cut a regionals with it. So let's go with that. Okay. Gather bait for each energy attached to this Pokemon. Search your deck for a trainer card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And then Metal Claw. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk for this guy. Yeah, not great. It's like kind of a cute attack, but not very good, I don't think. Aegislash, Big Shield. As long as this Pokemon is in play, any damage done to your Pokemon by opponent's attacks is reduced by 30. You can only use 1 Big Shield. And then Power Edge. So a good ability, but it's on a stage 2. So I'm going to go ahead and bulk this guy out, sadly. We've got Caparaja V and Caparaja V Max. Adamantine Press, 90. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. And then Rack Down, 180. Dangerous Noise, 100 damage. If your opponent's active is a basic Pokemon, this attack does 100 more damage. Okay. Doing 200 for 3. Not the best, but, you know, we are a 340 HP metal Pokemon. And then Giant Hammer doing 240. Of course, we do have Metal Saucer to accelerate energy here. I don't know. This could be okay. 200 will knock out a lot of Pokemon V, but not that many of them. I guess a lot of these guys are getting pretty beefy now. 210, 200 is like... I'm trying to think of the ones from the last set off the top of my head. What's this guy? 210, but he's not resistant to metal. 200, so we're knocking this guy out. I don't know. We could get some one-hit KOs here and there. I'm going to say bulk for now, but I could see this being, like, not the worst, but probably just going to be bulk. Duraludon. First Duraludon card. Pretty cool new Pokemon. Very good in VGC right now. Attach metal from your discard to one of your Pokemon. So this is the same attack as the old school Registeel from Crimson Invasion. I say old school, but that's not that old. And that was like an okay card. It was played in like a couple things, but not great. So I will say like very low competitive potential. Mostly bulk though. Then we've got a 1-prize Zacian and a 1-prize Zamazenta. Let's read these guys. Energy Stream. Attach a metal energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Flip a coin. If tails, discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. That was pretty bad. Zamazenta, 20 less. Power Rush, 120. Flip a coin. If tails, during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. Both of these guys are bad. Bulk. Not great, sadly. Snorlax. Going to send this guy to the bulk box with most other Snorlaxes. Chatot, Lucky Match. Once during your turn, we place Pokemon from your hand onto your bench. Flip a coin. If heads, choose a supporter card from your discard pile, reveal it, and put it into your hand. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk. This is like literally like strictly, I mean, not strictly because it's a 1-prizer versus 2-prizer, but it's just way worse than Eldegoss. I know so many people are going to like probably try to play this because they like don't have Eldegoss. It's kind of like the Octillery versus Shaman from back in the XY days, but Chatot, not very good. Alright, Unpheasant, let's see what you got here. Should check for up to 2 Pokemon with fighting resistance, reveal them, put them in your hand. So that's kind of cool. It searches out your guys. The attacks of the defending Pokemon do 50 less damage. Air Slash 150, discard energy. Not great. Unpheasant to the bulk. Diggersby, though, let's see what he's got. Discard 1 card from your opponent's deck. Mountain Toss Rush. Discard up to 6 cards from the top of your deck. Does 30 damage for each card discarded in this way. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 180 for 3. And then Headbutt Bounce 110. I'm going to go ahead and say bulk. Discarding cards from your deck is bad. We'll go with that. Windfall, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards. It's Cleffa. It's very bad Cleffa. And then Speed Attack, 30 damage. I'm going to say bulk for this guy. Decent setup attack, but we're in way too fast of a format for this to be good, and 5 cards is not that many. Hammer Arm, 90, discard a card from the top of your opponent's deck. And then flip a coin. If heads, toss your opponent across the room and discard your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it. I don't think you do this part. That's Pokebeach being a little cute. But discard your opponent's active Pokemon and all cards attached to it. Okay, so Big Throw, kind of cool with like something like Will. I could see it being not too bad. 4 colorless, though, makes it pretty tough to be any good at all. If it was 3 colorless energy, maybe it would be 2 reasonably good with Will and Triple Acceleration. So that's why they made it 4 colorless. But as it is, 4 colorless, this card's not very good. Alright, we got the boy Greedent here. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a Pokemon tool card, reveal it, and put it in your hand and shuffle your deck. Pretty cool ability, but I don't think... I'll say low-tier competitive potential. I don't think it's realistically worth playing this guy just to search for tools. Double V, Soft Wool, damage done to this Pokemon by attacks is reduced by 30. And then Revenge Burst, 120, 30 damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So it is colorless, it is splashable. It's got the damage reduction ability built in, and we could hit for, a good amount of damage late game. So I'm going to say potential. It's splashable, which is good, so I'm going to say competitive potential. All right, we're wrapping it up, guys. On to the trainers here. Going to be under an hour, hopefully. We'll see if we can finish this under an hour. Choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, switch with your active Pokemon. Competitively viable, going to be played right away in a lot of decks, if not all decks. So pick this card up. Burning Scarf. Fire Pokemon this card is attached to is damaged. Attacking Pokemon is now burned. So obviously combo with Arcanine, like we said. But other than that, I think this card's not going to be very good. Captious Bucket. Search your deck for 2 water energy, reveal them, put them in your hand, shuffle your deck. Pretty good card, especially with Frostmoth. I'm going to say competitively viable, honestly. Any water deck should probably play at least 1 or 2 of these. Maybe that's not necessarily true, but I'm going to say competitively viable. Competitive potential, somewhere in there. Pretty high tier competitive potential. Curse Shovel. The Pokemon this tool is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attacks. Discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, so that goes with the Sandygast. Low tier competitive potential. Good old boy Dan here. Draw 2 cards. Play rock, paper, scissors with your opponent. If you win, draw 2 more cards. Not very good. Bad. Bulk. There we go. Full Heal. Remove all special conditions from your active Pokemon. I'm going to go ahead and say Bulk. Techable card. It's existed before, and it's never really been played. Galar Mine. Definitely competitive potential. Is good in any sort of stall deck to, like, stall up active Pokemon that can't be retreated anymore with Air Balloon or, a Skateboard. But, lots of things are playing heavy switch counts right now. Milo, discard up to 2 cards from your hand, then draw twice as many cards as you discarded. So discard 2 to draw 4, or discard 1 to draw 2. I'm going to say competitive potential. This kind of reminds me of Felicity's Drawing. That card was okay in a couple of decks. So we'll go with probably mid to low tier competitive potential. Nugget here. Play this card when you draw it at the start of your turn and draw 3 cards. Okay, so this card is decent, I think, especially combined with something like Smooth Over Magcargo, potentially. Just getting to draw that extra 3 can be very good. I'm going to say potential. And then also, like, combined with a Rangaroo, it's like a techable card. I don't know. It feels weird. Like, when are you going to find space to fit multiple of this card in? I don't know. All right, Olena here. Discard 2 cards from your hand in order to play this card. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose a trainer card you find there and put it at the bottom of your opponent's deck. Okay, so this card is definitely solid. It's good in any sort of mill deck. Any sort of stall deck. If you want to stall something active, and then you can use Olena to put the switch that they have in their hand on the bottom of their deck. They don't have access to it anymore. That's not too bad. So I'm going to go ahead and say competitive potential. Pokeball, I'm going to say bulk. This card has existed a lot in the past, and I don't think has literally ever been good. Scoop Up Net. Put one of your Pokemon, excluding Pokemon V/GX, into your hand. Discard all cards attached to that Pokemon. Okay, so this card is solid for sure. Picking up things like Jirachis, clearing up bench spots. There's a lot of potential here. We've got Scylla. Search your deck for a trainer. Put it in your hand. Okay, so, we all know and love Scylla. Been good in the past. It was really good in the black and white era. Not very good in the X and Y era. And I think we're kind of in a similar state to the X and Y era where this is not going to be as good. Might be a 1 or 2 of in some decks, but really Scylla not great. Yeah. All right, Sonya here. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon or 2 basic energy. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Okay, so yeah, Roseanne's, right? Up to 2 basic Pokemon or up to 2 basic energy. But can you only get one or the other? So it's not quite Roseanne's Research, which was such a good card. If you can get one of each, if you can get 1 basic and 1 energy, which is what you used to be able to do with Roseanne's, then this card is definitely not too bad. But if it's 2 basics or 2 basic energy, then I don't think it's very good. Maybe, I'll say competitive potential. Tool Scrapper, I think competitively viable. This is going to be a text card in a lot of decks, 1 of, maybe 2 of in certain things. This card's existed before, of course, and has been good in the past. So Tool Scrapper, I think, is good. Training Court. This card stays in play when you play it. Oh, wait, that's the bottom text. Why am I reading that? Once during each player's turn, that player may choose a basic energy card from their discard pile, reveal it, and put it into their hand. So this is Power Tree, sort of. Old school card once again. I'm going to say competitive potential, definitely a useful card in certain things. Turffield Stadium. Once during each player's turn, search their deck for a Grass Evolution Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into their hand, and then that player shuffles their deck. Definite competitive potential, if not competitively viable in any grass deck. Any grass deck is probably going to want to play this as their stadium of choice. And, alright, so we've got Capture Energy. When you attach it from your hand to one of your Pokemon, search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. Very good card, I think. it's definitely something that, you know, if your deck has a colorless requirement in its attack cost, I could definitely see you playing this. Horror Psychic Energy, competitively viable. The Psychic Pokemon this card is attached to is your active and is damaged by an opponent's attack. Put 2 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. And then Speed Lightning. When you attach this card from your hand to a Lightning Pokemon, draw 2 cards. I think this card is very good as well. And then Twin Energy. If this card is attached to a Pokemon V or GX, it provides 1 colorless energy instead. So 2 colorless energies for non-V or GX Pokemon. Definitely competitively viable. I think this card is going to be good. So we're finishing just over an hour, but I think we kind of encompassed most things here. Of course, we've got the full arts and all of that stuff. Full art trainers and such here. Definitely some good looking cards. Gotta love the Malamar there, right? Toxtricity, very cool. We got the Dragapult, definitely a fan favorite. Bolton looking as happy as he could be. Yeah, pretty awesome looking set, honestly. I think this set's very good. Definitely recommend picking out some of these cards we talked about today that are in the competitively viable section, and even some of those in competitive potential. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Be sure to check out PTCGO Store. They should have Rebel Clash code pre-orders up very soon. You're going to want to check that out. They've got instant code delivery once the set does release, and it's a very, very easy site to use. And of course, you can use code CHIP5 at checkout to get 5% off your order. Thanks to them once again for sponsoring the channel. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. This is a long one. I'm going to get out of here. And until next time, take care.